Hey guys, quick heads up before I start the video. The link down below takes you to my Patreon, where you can download the project files for this video. Also gain access to my premium tutorials and in-depth courses where we build games together from start to finish. Check out my Patreon below, gain direct access to years of experience so that you can start working on your dream game tomorrow. Hello guys and welcome back to a new video. So in the last video we worked on the player actually having a health bar, and then we also set up that the player can actually take damage and that the player can then notify the game state of the damage being taken, and that the number of survivors will get basically will be decreasing, and then the player, once the player dies, it will actually kill itself properly. So we took a look at all of those things. So in this video we are going to be continuing, and actually more specifically let's continue on the kill feed. So we're going to be making a kill feed right now. So when players die, we want to show people that players are actually dying. So to do that, we're going to go to our widgets folder first of all, and we're going to create the widget. So inside of the game widgets folder, this is going to get a bit messy right now. So we're just going to do a new folder inside of this folder, and let's call this the kill feed, since it exists out of two widgets. So first of all, we're going to right click and then do widget blueprint, user widget, WB, let's call this kill feed panel. So this is the actual kill feed panel, and then we're going to make another widget, and this is going to be the widget blueprint kill feed child, or we could also call it an item. So this is the item that goes in here. So this one would say player X died, and then it would be displayed here, and then it would say player X got hit by a car, and then it gets shown here, or player X died of falling damage, and then it gets shown here. So first let's make the item actually. So we're going to go into the item here, and then we're going to simply, it's just going to be some text. So let's grab some text in here, then set this widget to be desired on screen so we can see the actual size. Then we're going to right click the text, and let's go ahead and wrap this with a border. And then the border, if we select it, we're going to make it all black, so all the way down, and then put it to something like 0.6 for transparency. Now the text, we're going to select it. It's too big. Currently it's way too big of a font, so we're going to change the size to something like let's say 18, yeah, or 16. Let's make it something like 16, and then we wanted to have some padding all around. So let's do 12 padding all around the board. There we go. So this should say something like player A killed player B. Yeah, let's make it say this. And then since this text needs to be editable, we're going to make it a variable. So we're going to click up here, and let's call this kill feedback underscore text, and make it a variable. Hit compile, save, and there we go. And then when this appears in the screen, we also want it to remove itself. So if we go over to the graph and then go over to event construct, then we can basically say that it needs to remove itself with visibility after a little while. And we also might want it to nicely show, nicely fade in and then fade out and remove itself. So what we're going to do is we're going to select the border and animate this widget real quick. So let's just call it item anim, something like that. And then we're going to select it, click on track, click on the border, and then make sure your timeline is on 0. Then we click on the track that we want to change, and that's going to be the opacity track. So first of all, we want it to become visible. So at 0.35, let's click here, and then we're going to go a little bit further, let's say to 2 seconds, and then click another one here at full. So this is going to be 1, and then here we're going to go to 2.35 again and click here. Then if we click here, we can go through them. So first of all, we want it to start at 0 opacity, then become visible, stay visible, and go back here to 0 opacity. So this is our little animation. And if you think this is too short, then you could obviously make it longer. So we can just drag these two and put it all the way to 3 seconds. So that they're in our screen for a good amount of time. We can then hit compile and save, and there we go. Then if we go over to the graph, then we can actually drag off of here and type in play animation. And then we want to play an animation with a finished event. So this is the one that we want. it asks us for a couple of things. So if we drag our animation here from the left, then we want this to be in the animation. Now the widget is going to, if we drag off here, is going to be itself. So we just want to play this once and don't change these parameters. And then after that, we want this to remove from parent. So then we want this widget to basically remove itself. And obviously we're going to have to be able to code this text. So this text, we're basically going to have to set that up before we do the animation here. So we drag in the text variable, drag off it and type in set text, then we get this. And then if we hook this up just like that, then we can promote the text to variable and we just call it Killfeed. Yeah, let's just call it feedback text. Feedback text. There we go. Hit compile, save. With the text selected, we're going to make it instance editable and expose on spawn, so that we in the other widget can basically set this variable, and then when this widget constructs itself, it will set the text, play the animation, remove itself. Okay, so that's it for this child widget. Then we can go ahead and close this. So I click on browse to go back here. Then we can open up the Killfeed panel in which all these items will populate. But one more thing, when these items start populating, we want them to have a little bit of space between each other. So back inside of the item, we're going to select the border, right click, wrap it with a size box. And then on the border, we're going to go now to padding, and then we're going to give it some padding on the bottom of, let's say, 10. So then you can zoom in and see how much that is, or 15. So 15 padding, so that they basically get separated between each other. And there we go. Next up, we can go to the Killfeed panel. So how are we going to make the Killfeed panel? Well, it's just going to be a little vertical box. So we go up to panel here, we get vertical box. And then the vertical box is going to be a variable. So let's just call it items vertical box, or let's call it Killfeed _ VB for vertical box, make it a variable, and then hit fill on screen. Okay, so there we go. So now that we got these two, then we can go over to our gameplay HUD here. So this one. And then inside of the gameplay HUD, we want to add it here on the top left. So if we scroll down to user created, we'll find ourselves our Killfeed panel. And then we anchor it here to the top left, size it to the content, and let's make it be 50 out of the side, 50 from the top, and hit compile and save. Okay, so how do we now communicate the actual kills to that panel? And also, what do the kills actually look like inside of the panel? So with the kill feed here, we can also go down to user created, and then we can find our kill feed item. So let's just put a couple in here. So you would get one kill in your screen, and then you would get another kill in your screen, and another kill in your screen. So basically, this is the latest one, removes itself, then the new one comes in, and the new one comes in. So that's kind of wrong, because typically you would have the newest one be on top instead of on the bottom. So right now, the newest one would basically go down, 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 down. So to change that, we're gonna have to do some crazy inverting logic. So we're gonna select vertical box here. And then what we're going to do is if we go down to the render, transform, and then transform, then we're going to do some crazy inverting logic so that we can get the newest one to be on the bottom instead of on the top. So we're going to select it and then hit the scale here. We're going to do -1 to turn the whole thing upside down. And then inside of the item, we're going to select the size box and go to the scale and do -1 here as well. And then if we hit compile save, then yes, in our preview, our widgets are now turned upside down. But then here, if we now take a look at the first one in the list, it suddenly becomes to the bottom, and then this one here, this one here. So that means that the newest one that we add is on top. So I can show you once more. If we then have our kill feed vertical box, we can then basically start to drag in the kill feed item. So this is the first kill. So now we got the first one here. So this is then the first kill that we basically drag in. Then if we right click and duplicate this, then we see that the new one that we just added, so the new kill coming in, is now the one on top. And then we add another new kill. So this is now the newest kill. Now the newest kill is on top. And the first kill is on the bottom. So that's basically the way that we want it. Now that we got that, we can then clean these out. compile and save, and that's it for creating these widgets. Now we can also go ahead and set up the kill panel widget to code it. So if we go to the graph here, then what do we want this guy to do? Well, we want to add a custom event, and we just want to call it add underscore kill feed. So let's just call it add kill feed. So what do we want to do? We want to create a widget each time that we do this, and then the widget is of the type kill feed item. Now we don't really have to give it an owning player because we're not going to be interacting with the widget at all. So the kill feed item, it asks us for that feedback text, so that we're going to plug in here. And then out of here comes the actual widget, which we're going to be adding as a child to the vertical box. So if we drag off of here, we can then type in add child and plug this in just like this. Okay, so now the widgets are all set up and ready to be used. So we got the kill feed panel that basically creates items whenever this event gets called with the event text and adds them to the vertical box. And then the item itself will basically set it up with the feedback text, animate itself, and after a while, once that animation is done, also automatically remove itself. So now we somehow need to get the killing events to the actual screen of the player. So to make this a bit easier, we're going to remove this one over here, and then we're going to go to the island and go to our utility folder, which we set up in the last video, and drag in our damage actor simply over here. And then we're going to have to now basically make sure that the players die. So let's put the damage actor to 100 damage here, and then we can just run into it and test this logic out. So how do we communicate to all of the players that there are kills? Well, as we saw in the last video, when we go to the game mode, core character, we implemented the event for whenever we receive damage, and then we could notify the game state that a player had died. So since we can notify the game state whenever a player dies, and the game state actually has it implemented here and then does this logic, then we could also use this event to basically feedback off of here towards all of the clients. So what do we have to keep in mind? Well, first of all, we know that the event for receiving any damage occurs on the server. It also displays it here with the icon. I explained this all in the last video if you haven't seen it. So basically your damage comes in here. If you hit 0, you notify the game state that you die, you actually remove yourself as an actor and actually die. So if we are still on the server here, then here on the game state, this also executes all on the server. So first of all, the server subtracts one of the current amount of players, and then we just want to notify everybody. So what do we know about the game state? It exists on the server and on all clients. So we could simply do a multicast here to execute somebody dying. But what we could also do is that we could set this guy to be RepNotified, so that every time that the current amount of players changes, we could say that we RepNotify a change of somebody dying. Or what we could also do is that we would make a separate variable, because this one, remember, also gets set over here, which is not a kill feed, it is just a connection event. So we could also make a separate one that basically has the kill feed text. So let's go ahead and do that, because why not just simply use a multicast? Well, RepNotifys are more preferred than RPCs when it comes to multiplayer games. They are more performant. Our engine says so themselves in the documentation, and there they give the reason for it. So we're going to use a RepNotify. So for variables here, we're going to click on the add, and then the variable that we want to add is basically the kill feed, and that's all it is. And then inside of the kill feed, it should be of the type, let's make it a string, and then this should be a RepNotify. Then we hit compile and save, and there we go. So this kill feed text, we're just going to hook it up here, and that's it. So if we set this text, it will change on the server and on all clients, remember? So now we somehow need to set the text that goes in here. So how do we set that text? Well, it's going to have to come out of this interface event. So let's go to our interface folder. Now open this one up. Then we see notify dev. So what we want to send through here is basically also the name of the player that basically died and the name of the player that killed us. So let's just call this the killer over here. And then we also call it the player who died. Player who died. Let's just call it that. Why not? So that notify dev will now basically send the killer and the player who died. So how do we know who the killer is and the player who died? Well, here inside of our character class, we are using this event here. And then what we see here is the damage causer and who it is instigated by. So right now, who is the killer? It is this actor over here. Check out Cactus Center right now on Steam in Early Access. It's a very fun multiplayer video game, cheaper than the Starbucks coffee. So if you want to have a good time with your friends or strangers, click that link down below, and I appreciate every single one of you, and enjoy the rest of the video. Bye! If we find that actor in our utility folder, then we see that we used this node to apply damage, which said the damage causer and then the event instigator. So what is the event instigator? The controller object reference that was responsible for causing damage to the player. Example, the player who shot the weapon. Well, in this case, it's not a player who shot the weapon, but it's just this blueprint. So what we can do here is that we cannot actually send true that this guy is the one who deals the damage. But players who use guns can send this data through. So what we're going to say is that this guy basically does not have a controller, so it cannot input a controller either, because it actually asks for a controller type. So what we're going to do inside of the character is, in case that we do not have the instigator, then we're just going to display the damage causer. So if we plug the instigator inside of the killer, we get the display name of the instigator. What we're going to say is the instigator here is actually invalid. So we're just going to drag off here and type in is valid. Then we can say if it is valid, we use the display name. If it is not valid, we basically use the damage causer. So let's do something like that. So we're going to put this a bit to the right, and then we're going to hook this one up here. So what are we going to do? If the instigator is valid, which would be when this actor wouldn't be calling the apply damage event, but another player would do in a couple episodes from now when we start using guns. So if the instigator is basically not valid, then we are going to basically simply get the damage causer name. So if we duplicate this, hook it up here, then we're gonna get the damage causer and plug that in here. And then for the player who died, that's basically ourselves as the player. So how do we put in our own name here as the player who died? Well, for that we can type in get player state. Then we can get this little variable here, which is our player state. And from a player state, you can simply type in get name, and then we can get the player name. Now, if your game is connected to Steam, which we already did a couple episodes ago, then if you got Steam running and you play on Steam standalone, then you would actually get your Steam name out of here. But otherwise, if you're just testing in the editor, it will just give you your PC name. So this is the player name that we want to put in here. Then if we hit compile and save, then there we go. So what does this now do? This basically sends it through to the game state, and then in the game state, we see it over here. So we can give it a quick little test. If we just do a little print string, plug it in here, then we can see who the killer is. And then we also want to do a little print string, and we'll make this one red, and that is basically who died. So here's who died, and this is who the killer is. Let's make the killer also 15 seconds, and this one 15 seconds visible. So now we go ahead and hit play. And then we got our two little beans. We got our countdown, so I gotta be quick here. I'm gonna just run in here. Boom, I die, and it says the damage actor is the damage causer and WinPC is the one who died. So that basically worked. I didn't actually die because we basically also need to hook up the destroy event over here, of course. So there we go. And what we can also do is to go like this. So this is basically now our logic. So if we don't have an instigator controller, which means a player that killed us, in that case, we just get the damage causer name. So now that we basically sent this all through to the game state, then we can continue inside of the game state and actually plug that data into here. So we see that the kill feed just asks for one input, and here we get two. So what we're going to do is we're going to string append, and then plug the string append into here. And then we're going to basically format it. So we're going to say the killer killed, and then spacebar the name of who died. So it will basically say the damage causer blueprint, in this case, the BP damage actor killed, and then the name of the player that died. Or it will say player A killed player B. That's basically what it's going to say when we are using this on Steam. So then we can open up the Notify here. And now how do we actually communicate this Killfeed data to all of the clients? Well, this executes on the server and on all the clients. So somehow we now actually need to get this data to our Killfeed. So for that, we are going to go into our function library and open this guy up. And then we're going to add a new function so we can easily reuse the function anywhere. So we're going to click on add, click on function, and then we're going to call this add underscore Killfeed. So let's just call add Killfeed, and we're going to put it under the category gameplay feedback. Let's just call it gameplay feedback. So what do we want to do here? Well, we want to first of all get our player controller, but then we want to make sure that we are the local player controller. So we're going to say is local controller. And then if that is true, so if we are the local player controller, then we're basically going to say get all widgets of class. Now the widget of class that we want to get is our Killfeed panel, not only on the top level, but just all the Killfeed panels that we have. Now we could say that we just get a copy of the 0 one, which is the only one that we have, or we just simply for each loop out of here. So this will find our Killfeed panel. And then inside of the Killfeed, remember, we install an event called add Killfeed. And that was the event that we already made earlier. And then it asks for the text. So the text is going to simply go in here, hit compile and save. And there we go. So to be sure that we actually can find a widget, so let's say that Killfeed is coming true before we actually have this widget in our screen yet, we're going to drag out of here and also basically save code it. So we're going to say is not empty, and that has to be true. So we have to find at least one before we can add the Killfeed to this panel. Then we can go ahead, hit compile, save, close the function library, and then go back to our gameplay game state. So on RepNotify, we simply want to do add Killfeed, which then comes out of our little function library. We're going to hook this up. There we go, just like that. And this function library also already made sure that we only do it locally. So locally, we're going to find our widget, add the Killfeed, inside of the Killfeed widget here, inside of the vertical box, which actually adds it to the screen. So let's go ahead and test that out. So we're going to hit play. And then we got to be quick. So let's actually adjust the countdown timer to be a bit longer. So we're going to go to the event graph here. And then let's say that this one, instead of starting at 15, that it would start at something like 50. If we also want to make this easier, we can drag off of it. And we can then say basically default match countdown. This would be the default value with which it initializes. If we then hit compile save, let's make it say 60 seconds actually, 60 seconds. There we go. So now we can go ahead and test this. So we got a 60-second countdown here, plenty of time. We're then gonna run in with our little server here, and then let's see if we both get the Killfeed. Boom. And then it basically says that that guy killed that guy. So it all worked great, but we did see that it was still inverted, and that's a little bug in Unreal because we have been working on all these widgets and they're still like inverted. So to fix that, you gotta quickly restart your project. So that's what I'll be doing right now. So we're gonna close the project and then simply restart it again. Okay, there we go. Then if we test it once more, so we go into the Battle Royale level, we hit 2 players, listen server, and hit play. Then we got our 2 guys here. So the server is gonna run into the box, boom, and then it properly displays the BP damage actor killed Wim PC. So everything works fine, we just needed to add a little spacebar, and then this guy can run into here as well. And then nobody sees it because right now we coded it in the last episode that if the player dies, they basically remove all of their widgets. So if we go into the game modes here and then go to gameplay, player controller, then what we see is that whenever the character died, so unpossessed, we basically removed all the widgets. So now we basically want to change this code that we do not want to remove all the widgets, but we want to remove specific widgets. So if we take a look at our HUD, then we could say that we still want to keep our kill feed, but we might not want to see our health anymore. So the health is actually the only one that we want to remove, which is called WB health bar. So in the case that we unpossess, we basically just do get health bar. And then for the health bar, we're going to do remove from parent. And there we go. Hook this up just like that. Hit compile save. Now we also see that we could use a little space bar. So inside of the gameplay game state here, we can format this a little bit differently, that there's also a space bar in front of killed. There we go. Let's test it out one more time. So we hit play, got 2 players. This one here on the right is the server. We're then going to basically run into the volume, and it's going to say damage actor killed WinPC. Then I'm going to run into it with this guy, and it will say damage actor killed WinPC, but then the other WinPC that ends in 20. Alright guys, so that's it for this video. So now we got ourselves a beautiful little kill feed here. Now if we go into the core character, then we can basically clean this up a little bit as well. So let's do that finally. So we're going to say, let's see, we're going to put this into a function here. So let's call it something, let's select it all and call it something like handle underscore kill feed. And then we can put that in a category called feedback. And then we can hook it up here, this one here. Now we do see that there's a lot of input pins going in, but we only need the instigator and the causer. So if we open up this function, then we can basically see that this one over here is the same as this one. So we can remove the top one, and then we could call this the instigator. And this one would be the damage causer. There we go. So this is the function that we want. And then if we refresh this one here to be safe, then we go like that. Okay, so this looks a bit cleaner. We can now put a comment around this, and let's call this damage. So that's whenever we receive damage. Hit compile save, and there we go. Alright guys, so that's it for this video. As I explained in the last video, we now got so much to do for this series. So in the next video, I will probably be finally starting to working on some guns or something like that. We might also want to work on the fact that when players die, that the game state has to actually realize that players die and that there's one guy left, so that we have to say, hey, this guy is the winner. We want to start working on the spectator and stuff like that. So let me know down in the comments below what you guys want to see next, and then that's what I'll start working on. I appreciate you guys, and if you like this project, you can download it on my Patreon if you want to mess around with the project yourself. If you like this video, please hit the like and subscribe. I appreciate you guys, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye!